Alrighty, folks, we have a lost album release for you. At least that's what they're calling it. And we have Motörhead, the Manticore tapes. The name is taken from the Manticore Studios, which is owned by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This is where they recorded this. So back there, 11 tracks. This is booklet. And as I got this in the mail, I noticed it had 2 hype stickers on it. Here's the first one. Motörhead, 50 years louder. And as I was pulling on the plastic, I said, oh great, 2 hype stickers, double the chance of tearing one. And immediately the plastic gave way and I tore the hype sticker. So yeah, here's the booklet. I have not read it. Extensive writing. So yeah, you may know the On Parole album, excuse me, was recorded with Larry Wallace and Lucas Fox in 1975. As they were finishing up recording, Lucas Fox decided to quit the band. So they brought in Phil, Filthy Animal Taylor. He re-recorded all the songs except for Lost to Johnny, because the day that they were going to redo that drum track, Phil was still in jail for drunk and disorderly. So Lucas is actually on that one. So On Parole was recorded in late 75, very early 76, of course not released until 79. Record company didn't want to release it, and then after Motörhead got popular, they decided to put it out. Then Larry, who's kind of Larry Wallace from Pink, who came from the Pink Fairies, was kind of losing interest in the band. Suggested they bring in a second guitar player, which happened to be Fast Eddie. Fast Eddie happened to be Phil's foreman on a houseboat painting job. So Phil brought Fast Eddie in. Larry immediately left after that. Like I said, it was his idea to bring another guitar player in, but he had lost interest in the band, so he just bolted. And then they recorded this, and so Fast Eddie showed up in the band for in like mid '76, and then they recorded this album in August of '76. I think I got all that background partially correct. So yeah, there's 11 tracks on here. The first one, first I'll just say it sounds great. They touched it up really nicely. It does not sound like a demo. It does sound like a live album, but that's because they left all of Lemmy's between song banter in. So it's really cool. It feels like you're kind of in the studio with them when they're recording all these. So yeah, the first track is just called instrumental. Then your next track is Leaving Here, Eddie Holland cover. He was a 60s R&B singer. It's leaving here, listed here. It's leaving here on No Parole. Like I said, these are different. A lot of the songs that were on Parole and on this album and on Motörhead, they've all been different lineup for On Parole and here. And then, of course, the songs were reworked for Motörhead. So these are all different versions than what appear on the Motörhead album, even though this is the first recordings of the Three Amigos. Then your next track is Vibrator. That's actually a song written by Larry Wallace, but I don't believe that that the Pink Fairies ever recorded that track. Of course, that song's on Parole and Motörhead. Your next track is Help Keep Us on the Road. That's how it's listed here. It's just called Keep Us on the Road on the Motörhead album. Your fifth track is The Watcher, a Hawkwind cover. That appears on both On Parole and Motörhead. And then, of course, Motörhead is your next track, another Hawkwind cover. It's on Parole and on Motörhead. But again, these are all different versions. They reworked these versions for the Motörhead debut. Then your next track is called Witch Doctor. This is an instrumental, but it's the instrumental version of I'm Your Witch Doctor, which would come out on Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, which was released in 1980. But that EP, all those recordings were recordings from 1977 when they were recording it for the Motörhead debut. So yeah, they had already started working on the song here in 1976. Then Iron Horse, Born to Lose. It's listed as an instrumental here, but you can hear Lemmy singing in the background. So I don't know if he was intentionally not mic'd up, and they were just running through the track, or if there was something wrong with his mic, but you can definitely hear him in the background singing along while they're playing Iron Horse, Born to Lose. And then your last three tracks are just alternate takes of songs that are already on here. You have an alternate take of Leaving Here, you have an alternate take of Vibrator, and you have an alternate take of The Watcher. So if you're a Motörhead fan, I would definitely suggest getting this, especially if you're a Motörhead purist and think that Motörhead no longer existed after Fast Eddie and Filthy Animal Taylor left the band, because this is the first recordings of those three together in the studio. And it sounds good. It's definitely more in the vein of On Parole than Motörhead, or they hadn't quite beefed up their sound yet, which may have been one of the reasons Larry Wallace left, because they were getting a little heavier. So yeah, I would say it's more in the style of On Parole than on Motörhead, but it's still good. I mean, there's some killer guitar work on here by Fast Eddie. And like I said, the between song banter by Lemmy makes it feel like, you're actually in the studio with them. So yeah, I give this, they're not the definitive versions, so I think I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. But still really good and mandatory for any mandatory Motörhead fan. Alrighty, you guys have a good one.